Well, I'm joined on set now by France24's Andrew Hilliar from our International Affairs Desk. Andy, so how close are we to a ceasefire deal?
Well, this is the closest we've been to a ceasefire deal in months. That's for sure. And there does appear to be momentum. Now, going forward later this evening, the Israeli Security Cabinet will be meeting to discuss Hamas's response. Remember, Hamas saying that they had responded positively to this latest proposal. Also up for discussion at the future of the war in Gaza. Now, as you mentioned there, sources saying that this deal contains the release of roughly 10 hostages in 2 stages over a 60-day ceasefire period. In return, Israel would release a number of Palestinian prisoners, and bodies of dead Israeli hostages would also be released. Now, various reports are also suggesting that Hamas has requested changes to this framework. These would centre around, first of all, guarantees that talks would continue, talks seeking to end the war until the war is actually ended. That's one thing. Hamas also reportedly seeking a return to the UN-led system of aid distribution for people inside Gaza, and also seeking an Israeli withdrawal, military withdrawal, to areas agreed to during the last ceasefire. And just on the point of aid, to give viewers some context, the situation as it stands is that the Israeli and US-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation essentially leads aid distribution in the Gaza Strip. This is a system that has been described as chaotic by people on the ground, and that's why UN agencies and most other NGOs have refused to work with them.
Now, speaking of aid, I understand you've been speaking to aid organisations on the ground. What's their take on talk of a ceasefire?
Well, given the dire humanitarian situation on the ground, they say, as you might expect, that a ceasefire is absolutely essential. Now, I spoke to Julia Canali, who leads operations in the occupied Palestinian territories for the NGO, the Danish Refugee Council. Now, she's currently working in Deir el-Balah in the Gaza Strip, and she told me that the territory was facing an unprecedented crisis, including an impending fuel crisis. Take a listen to what she told me earlier.
It's incomparable to any other situation I've ever witnessed in 10 years of humanitarian response, and it seems to be really worsening. Also, over the past week or so, we have witnessed an intensification of the military offensive. Not only food and other humanitarian items are prevented to enter Gaza, but lately we're facing a severe fuel shortage that is risking of impacting all operations, including the provision of potable water, as the desalination plants across the Gaza Strip rely on fuel to work.
Now, on the issue of aid distribution, remember I was saying earlier that is a potential sticking point in this latest proposal. Hamas reportedly pushing for a return to the UN-led system of distribution. Now, NGOs and the UN have roundly criticised this system. They've described it as chaotic. Witnesses, NGOs working on the ground, humanitarian workers, describing a system that ensures the most vulnerable people do not get access to aid. Take a listen.
We are speaking to people in communities that we serve that tell us how about their journey, the dangers and the dangerous journey that they faced by trying to access a little bit of flour or a can of beans. They have told us about being shot at, about the risk of being stomped on by the crowds at the distribution centers, and also they've been telling us how people who are more vulnerable will face even greater struggles to access this little food, especially women and elderly or people with disability. It's simply impossible for them to access these aid distribution schemes.
And just a final point. Now, Israel claims that under the old UN-led aid distribution scheme, aid, it says, routinely fell into the hands of Hamas. Now, NGOs and the UN dispute that. And they, as I mentioned earlier, they're calling for a return to the UN-led system of distribution. But it does remain to be seen whether or not Israel will be willing to budge on that point.
All right, Andy, thank you very much indeed for that.